only hours left before his execution, Lucas didn't ask for a last meal, a priest, or a final call. He asked for his dog, Ranger. Just 10 minutes. One last goodbye. No one expected what came next, because when Ranger entered the yard, the prison fell silent. The guards froze, and what happened next didn't just shake the room. It unearthed a truth buried for years, and pointed to a man no one ever suspected. If this moment gave you chills, hit like, share this with someone who believes in second chances, and tell us where you're watching from. We read every comment. The air inside Red Hill State Penitentiary carried a weight that morning. Not just the finality of scheduled death, but something else, something heavier. Lucas sat on the edge of his cot, elbows on his knees, fingers laced loosely. He had not moved much in the hours since sunrise. He did not need to. Everything that mattered was already behind him, or ahead of him by only a few hours. He had not asked for a feast, not for music, not for a final phone call. He asked for Ranger, his dog, an old German shepherd with a black saddle coat, a streak of gray at the muzzle, and eyes that had once steadied Lucas when everything else fell apart. The request stunned everyone. Some thought he was joking. Others thought he had lost his mind. But Warden Harrow saw the calm in Lucas's voice and the absence of fear in his eyes. "He's all I've got," Lucas said. "I just want to see him again." It was Officer Blake who objected first. Too risky. Untrained animal. No precedent, but Officer Silva, standing in the corner with arms crossed, spoke softly. No visitors. No family, no outbursts. Just give the man his dog. The room fell into a silence made of flickering lights and distant keys. Harrow asked for Lucas's file. Clean, 7 years. No violence, no escape attempts. One dog listed under personal possessions. Ranger. 8YO German Shepherd. Seized at arrest. Harrow tapped the edge of the folder for a long time. Then, yard only. 10 minutes. Supervised. Word spread through the prison like smoke. Lucas said nothing. He returned to his cot and sat. He had already made peace with what was coming, but the thought of Ranger's fur beneath his hands one last time, that stirred something deep. Something neither death nor time could touch. Somewhere beyond the prison gates, a vehicle was already in motion, and inside a dog who hadn't seen his human in over 7 years was about to smell the scent he'd never forgotten. Neither of them could have known what that meeting would uncover, what it would awaken, what it would destroy. The prison yard was cleared. No inmates, no noise, just concrete, chain link, and the cold breath of early morning. Lucas stood a few feet from a worn wooden chair, wrists loosely cuffed in front of him, shoulders squared, but eyes soft. Behind him, 4 guards stood in a quiet line, Officer Silva among them. Warden Harrow watched from the tower above, unreadable. Then the gate creaked open. Out stepped Ranger. He looked older than Lucas remembered, grayer around the muzzle, slower in the stride, but unmistakably him. The same proud stance, the same deep chest, the same intelligent eyes scanning the yard. He wore no muzzle, just a heavy-duty collar and leash, flanked by 2 handlers. But the second ranger saw him, really saw him, something ancient and immediate lit in his body. His ears stood straight. His tail began to wag, slow at first, like a question. Then faster, steady, eager. The leash slackened. "Let him go." Warden Harrow's voice crackled through the radio, and Ranger surged forward. Lucas dropped to his knees just in time. Ranger slammed into his chest like a wave, whining, tail thrashing, body twisting with joy. He pressed his head into Lucas's shoulder, licking, pawing, trembling. For the first time in years, Lucas smiled, eyes closed, arms around his dog, face buried in that familiar coat. He inhaled. Earth, leather, dust, home. The yard vanished. No fences. No clocks. No death row. Just a man and his dog together again. Tears came. Lucas didn't fight them. He felt the years fall off him. The weight of silence, the ache of isolation, the hollows of guilt, all melted in Ranger's warmth. The dog's breathing was fast but controlled, tail still wagging like a metronome, tapping out the rhythm of recognition. Then it stopped. Mid-wag, frozen. Lucas felt it before he saw it. Ranger's whole body turned rigid. His ears swiveled. His tail halted, stiff and horizontal. Ranger was no longer looking at Lucas. He was locked on to something, someone, a few feet away. Officer Blake. The dog's upper lip curled slightly, revealing a flash of teeth. A growl rumbled from deep within his chest. Low. Warning. Lucas didn't move. He just laid a hand across Ranger's back. Easy, he whispered. It's okay, but it wasn't. Ranger had never growled like that without reason. Not in the house. Not on the street. Not in training. And never in fear. Only when he sensed danger, Officer Blake shifted uncomfortably. "Control your dog," one of the guards muttered, but Ranger didn't budge. His eyes stayed fixed on Blake. His growl grew deeper. His back leg tensed. Lucas could feel it building. Not aggression, but instinct. Something primal. Ranger was trying to say something. Something no human in that yard could. Officer Silva stepped forward slowly. "Something's not right," he said. More to himself than anyone else, Lucas kept his eyes on his dog. Whatever this was, it was real. Ranger was reacting to something buried, something unseen, something that had been hidden too long, and in that frozen moment, as Ranger stared down the man no one else questioned, Lucas knew this was more than a goodbye. This was the beginning of something else. The yard was still, the kind of stillness that comes before a storm. Ranger's growl lingered in the air like smoke. Officer Blake shifted again, but refused to meet the dog's eyes, Lucas noticed. So did Officer Silva. No one spoke. Not at first, then Silva stepped closer, his voice low. "Lucas, your dog ever act like this?" Lucas shook his head. Not without a reason. Blake turned his back and walked toward the far end of the yard, arms stiff at his sides. Ranger's eyes followed him the whole way, his growl fading only when Blake disappeared through the gate. Silva muttered, "That's not normal." Lucas didn't answer. He was watching Ranger, who had gone quiet but still stared at the gate, ears perked forward like a soldier at attention. Later that afternoon, Lucas was escorted from his cell, not to the chamber, to a small interview room. Ranger was allowed to stay, lying silently at Lucas's feet. Across the table stood Warden Harrow, Officer Silva, and unexpectedly Blake. Tension thickened the air. Harrow broke the silence. "Blake, why didn't you disclose you were on site the night Lucas was arrested?" Blake didn't flinch. "Was off duty, just nearby." "Didn't seem relevant?" Lucas's pulse quickened. Ranger's ears twitched. Silva crossed his arms. "You never mentioned being there, not once." "That's strange." "Coincidence," Blake said flatly. Then Ranger stood up. A bark exploded from his throat. Not playful, not confused, accusatory. Everyone in the room jumped. Lucas looked down. Ranger's eyes were locked on Blake. The fur along his spine had risen. The growl returned, louder this time. More urgent. Silva stepped forward. "Easy, boy." But Ranger didn't need calming. He needed heard. Silva glanced back at Harrow. "Warden, something's off." The warden didn't respond right away. He studied Blake. Then Lucas, then the dog. "I received a call an hour ago," he said finally. "From a private citizen. Said they saw a man leaving Lucas's house the night of the murder. Someone in uniform. Before the police arrived." Blake tensed. Silva's face darkened. "You were there?" Blake stayed silent. Harrow straightened. "We're reopening the case." Lucas's breath caught in his chest. "Not freedom, not yet. But for the first time in years. Hope." Blake turned to leave. "Until this is resolved," Harrow said coldly. "Your suspension is effective immediately." Blake didn't argue. He just walked out, fast. Ranger's eyes followed him the whole way. In the following days, the case unraveled faster than anyone expected. A fingerprint analyst re-examined evidence from Lucas's house. Items that had been rushed, overlooked, assumed. The results didn't match Lucas. They matched Blake. Lucas sat in his cell with Ranger at his side, the leash loosely wrapped around his hand. He didn't smile, not yet. The past still hung over him like a shadow, but the air felt different. A crack had opened, and the truth was starting to slip through, all because one dog refused to forget. The investigation moved swiftly, too swiftly for Blake to cover his tracks. Within a week, 2 more witnesses came forward. A neighbor remembered seeing a figure in uniform leaving Lucas's home minutes before the police arrived. Another, a former colleague of Blake's, admitted under pressure that Blake had once bragged about cleaning up a mess no one would ever trace back to him. But the real nail in the coffin was the DNA, a blood stain, on a broken photo frame, originally dismissed as belonging to the victim. Didn't match Lucas at all. It matched Blake. Under interrogation, Blake cracked. He had been there. He had argued with the victim. It got physical. Things escalated. He panicked, and when Lucas came home, Blake vanished into the night, leaving behind a scene that would send an innocent man to death row. The charges against Lucas were dropped. Warden Harrow called him in. "Personally, I don't know how we missed this," he said quietly. Lucas didn't answer. He was watching Ranger, who sat beside him, calm as ever, his job done. "I can't undo the years," Harrow added. "But you're a free man now." Lucas stepped outside the prison gates later that afternoon. No cuffs, no chains, no concrete. Just open sky and Ranger, waiting on the other side of the fence, tail wagging, tongue out, eyes bright with that same unshakable belief he had carried all along. Lucas dropped to his knees. Ranger bounded into his arms, whining, licking, pressing close like he had done in the yard. But this time there were no guards, no countdown, no fear, just freedom, Lucas whispered into the fur. "We made it, boy." And they had. Not because of lawyers or loopholes, because Ranger knew something no one else had seen, because loyalty does not need words, because love remembers what the world forgets. Lucas now lives in a quiet town upstate, works with at-risk youth, volunteers with local shelters, and every morning, rain or shine, he and Ranger walk side by side, same pace, same rhythm, same unbreakable bond. Some still ask how a dog saved a man's life, but those who understand loyalty never need the question answered, because sometimes the truth doesn't come from a witness stand, it comes from a dog who remembers. If this story moved you, share it with someone who believes in second chances. Like, comment, and subscribe for more emotional stories where dogs lead the way. Because sometimes they know the truth before we do.